And the reaction of some shaving their heads to make sure that I guess I don't know the details on the shaving head thing or the way some people are reacting on different social media platforms, and it's just crazy. I kind of want to talk to our guest right now, who is joining us. Grace Riley is fantastic. She's a commentator with Restoration of America, and she's joining us right now on Florida's Voice because I want to know. I want to get her point of view on all of this. First of all, it's Drew. It's good to see you. How are you?
It's so great to be with you. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm happy to be here.
It is. It's Grace. It's nutty. It's nutty. It's weird. Like the shaving the head. What's the shaving the head thing that people are doing? Why are they talking about this? What are they doing?
Clearly based on my full head of hair, I can't tell you too specifically, but I
Yeah.
will say it is really crazy and it's been wild to just watch leftists go
Yeah.
completely off the rails. And really it's the woke eating the woke. That's what it is because
Right.
they've decided that not only are they going to shave their heads, these radical feminists, but also they're swearing off of men all of the sudden, which is getting to the exact conclusion that conservatives have been at this entire time that no, you should not be promiscuous with men who don't care about you. But all of a sudden, feminists have woken up to this realization because Donald Trump was elected. Still doesn't make too much sense why these things are all connected and why this is the reaction that the leftist feminists are having. But it's something, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's crazy to watch. This reaction, and maybe you can speak to this a little bit because it's almost as if I'm starting to feel like they sense that things are turning. Like the left, the crazy left, Democrats, all the same thing. The media, they all sense that there was momentum for a lot of the woke DEI, all this ideology that was out there. They felt like momentum was happening, and then all of a sudden now, just like that, it seems like it was shut off. Although I might make the case that a majority of the country didn't want it on to begin with and were ready to shut it off, and thus Donald Trump now is the president elect. But I wonder if that's part of what's happening. Like they feel like something that they had not too long ago is slipping away from them.
Yeah, I think that you're getting to a very good point, which is that that is part of the reason why this outcome happened, I think, because people aren't as radical as the radical left became. Harrison Waltz was the most radical ticket that we've ever seen, and they supported a lot of radical policies that Americans just aren't on board with generally. So they've isolated themselves more and more, and I think that that's why we're seeing as you're saying, such a crazy reaction from these radical leftists because they do see that it is slipping away, that actually there are a lot of Americans who support Donald Trump. There are a lot of Americans who completely rejected the radical left this election far more than they ever expected with the landslide that it ended up being. And that I think has been a wake up call to the Democrats very clearly. But on top of that, it seems like that's why there's been such extreme, crazy. I don't know if you could call this an unpredictable or predictable reaction from the left, the shaving the heads thing, because we've seen it before. But really, it completely took off this time. And also the reactions from young people on social media, young and old alike, it has been crazy where people have said, unfollow me if you voted for Trump or if you support anything related to Republicans. I want nothing to do with you. So not only have there been these feminist reactions, but a lot of leftists have just decided they want to cut ties with anyone who disagrees with them. And part of it is definitely a result of the demonization of the right from the media. I mean, the media has been demonizing Trump and conservatives on and on and on, but especially over the past few weeks and months. So it's not that surprising that some people have listened to what they're saying and think it's the end of the world, even though obviously it's not. That's what the
Yeah.
media is telling them. So I'm not too surprised that people are reacting so extremely.
Yeah, I gotta say, in a lot of ways, it's sad to see because I'm already not as much as I did in 2020. Surprisingly, I don't know what changed, but I remember 2020, the keyboard cowboys all out there, everybody talking smack about Trump, talking smack about their neighbors, talking smack about all kinds of different things that they were upset about, and directing it towards people in the community. And then they disappeared because they were happy because Biden was was elected president, and then now I'm seeing some of them coming up again, and I worry because I see them doing this. It does expose not only the fact that so many people, and maybe you could speak to the young people as well, who have really truly been indoctrinated in our schools and some of the things that they've been learning. But also, like I've mentioned a couple of times on this show, we're going to have a mental health crisis going on in this country because of what we probably are discovering are people, young people, who maybe we didn't know about, and maybe people around them didn't realize how truly affected they are by what has been put into their heads, whether it's in the schools or through the media. But what about the young people right now?
Yeah, I think that that's a really good point, and there are a lot of different factors at play there, from social media to the way that the culture has just shifted away from God and towards secularism, which can't provide anyone with anything but despair. There's no hope if you're only chasing a secular culture, which is what it's largely become, and that's what you find on the majority of college campuses. But COVID also had a very big impact on young people. I mean, and I think that that's actually part of the reason that so many young people woke up this election and ended up supporting Trump, because they've experienced the radical left before. And the same thing, this is on to a different topic, but onto the economy. I mean, young people have experienced not only the radical left's policies and how it impacted them when all of their schools got shut down, and when they were completely young, healthy people were forced to stay inside, which definitely contributed to this mental health crisis. But now young people who are starting to try to enter the workforce and starting to try to be on their own are having a lot of trouble. And that's been what it's been like in the Biden-Harris administration. And as a recent college graduate, I can confirm that it hasn't been easy, and that I've also watched a lot of my peers struggle with this. And these sorts of situations with economic hardships are not helping mental health either. And young people really did experience this. I mean, rent was up 23, percent under Biden Harris, groceries up 22%, car insurance up 57%. So young people are starting to really feel the impacts of the real world consequences of electing people like Kamala Harris. And I think that
Yeah,
that's why I ended up voting for Trump, at least in part.
yeah, and I think that you know, boy, I could talk about this for forever. I mean, uh, the conversations that I have with family members, sometimes it gets a little interesting. But you notice that in certain demographics, I mean, if we're going to go there, we can go there. There are certain age groups, just like there are people that have grown up that don't know what it's like not to have a cell phone. They've never lived in a world without the internet or the cell phone. There are people that have grown up, young people, who their early formative years were the Obama years, the Obama kids. I mean, this is what they grew up with. This is how they grew up. So because that happened and you had all of those years of Obama, you only had four of Trump, and then you have, Biden comes along as well. So you have all of this that's taken place. I wonder if that has been quite the effect on society as well, is that you have young people who have been brought up to believe something a certain way, have been told that, and listen, a lot of pressure on kids, right? To not get ostracized, or to not get doxxed, right? To kind of follow with the crowd, and then ultimately this year became the one year as they've matured out of that and into this environment that we're in right now, that now things are tangible. They want a house. They may have a house. They've got kids. The kids have to be fed. What are these prices that they're seeing? All of a sudden, the things that before were not tangible, can't think of a better way to put it, things that weren't tangible before now are. And that changed a lot of people's minds. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
It does, and it also kind of draws into the fact that a lot of people say that generally younger people are more liberal, and then they become conservative when they're older, kind of because of all of these things. But I think that young people aren't as radical as maybe we think, and I think that the outcome of how many ended up voting for Trump shows that, because the
Great point.
majority of young men voted for Trump. Women gained 11, it was 11 points more that women voted for Trump. than they did for Biden. So really, really big numbers and a huge jump for just one election. And I do think that kind of waking up to the real life of all of this is part of it. And the fact that the left picked bad policies to run on and bad ideas to run on in the sense that they went way too far with the radicalism. They went woke, and then because of that, they took the inch and they ran with the mile, and it went too far, and the people were not having it. And they always think that they can count on these young Gen Z voters to prop them up. But a piece for Slate was written yesterday basically demonizing all of Gen Z from a leftist, saying that we can't count on Gen Z anymore. And I think that that's also the point, that the left's instant reaction is to completely demonize young people, to call them stupid, to say, oh, well, we can't trust or count on them to support us anymore. And what I would say to that is maybe come up with policies that actually will help our country prosper, that will help young people prosper, because they're all one and the same. And that would be a much better strategy than just counting on young people to support leftist policies. And also on top of that, it's an opportunity for conservatives to look at this and say, hey, we have an opportunity to reach young conservatives here. And we can see that from these numbers and just the trends over the past few years where younger people are becoming more conservative. So I think that the stigma around young people being more liberal needs to be rejected by conservatives, quite frankly, and that we should be more than comfortable, willing, and excited to share our ideas with as many young people as we can because they're good ideas.
I love it. No, great points. All right, Grace, listen, I appreciate a few minutes of your time. I'm so glad you came on with us today, and we got to do this again soon. So make time for us because, I don't know if you know this, but Florida's like the epicenter of the political universe right now. We're really where it's at. So you have to come back. You almost don't have a choice. So we'll see you soon.
Oh, it is.
Okay.
Well, and I would love to come back anytime. It's been so fun talking to you and being on, and I look forward to next time. Thanks so
All right.
much.
All right, Grace. We'll see you soon. God bless. We'll see you. There she goes. That's Grace Riley. She's a commentator with Restoration of America, and doing great work out there. And listen, I I see it, and I think you see it too, that the things that we were told that people are the way they are, I don't know if it was always true. I don't know how much of what we were told about the youth of America and what they thought wasn't as much about what they felt, who they are, and more about being cool, not being doxxed, being part of the crowd, trying to find their way, and they just want to be liked. And the media and the left figured out a way to kind of make leftism cool until they grew up and it's like, this isn't cool.